So the Jews and the non-Jews come together to start a church. They start believing in Jesus. Now, when two groups of people come together to start a group or an organization, what do you think the very first problem would be? Who belongs in the group? And if there are certain people that belong in the group, what do you have to do to be a part of that group? In translation to modern day church, this is the question that we ask. Who is a Christian? And what do you have to do to become a Christian? What do you have to do to be a part of the church? See, there's a group of people, the Jews, who went out to tell people about Jesus and that salvation can come from him alone. But they thought, man, I just don't think that's enough. So they thought Jesus plus the law equaled salvation, which kind of sounds nice. But then it turned into Jesus plus circumcision, plus eating laws, plus festivals. After all of that, then you can join the church and you have salvation. Basically, following Jesus is good. We like that, but you need to do all the other things to prove that you are a Christian. You need to earn your salvation. But think about this in our modern day. No, we do not follow law, but there are some things that we do follow. How many of us have ever felt like Jesus wouldn't send us to heaven, or you're not following God correctly because you did something, or you didn't show up to some sort of religious event, or maybe you missed church, or maybe you forgot to pray, or maybe you messed up a little bit. Maybe you said something bad underneath your breath, or you got mad at one of your friends. Maybe you listened or watched something that maybe was kind of borderline and probably you shouldn't have. Maybe you had a sip of alcohol or a little bit more. Or maybe you hung out with somebody that was a little bit different. How many of you felt like when the first time you wore jeans to church that you were just devastating an entire generation of Christians? How many of you felt like a bad Christian or you weren't following God if your kid was just a little too loud in service and they started to cry? See, the goal of those who followed the law was to constantly make sure that you are in right standing with God. This all is encompassing in one term, which is justification. And that sounds like a really busy Christian word. But all it means is right relationship with God. But the way of justification completely changes when Paul says this. In Galatians 2:15 and 16, we ourselves are Jews by birth and not Gentile sinners, yet we know that a person is not justified, there's that word again, by works of the law, but through faith in Jesus Christ.